morning, good evening, good night, wherever or whoever you may be. I am Alan Arante, and this is the Recluse Podcast. Today's guest is Bobby Do-Right. He is a photographer based in Ventura, California. He has produced a number of photographic series dealing with the COVID pandemic, most notably his Peeping Bob series. In that series, he shoots subjects in their home, naked, and each photo has a unique concept behind it. It is the series that I'm proud to be a part of, and it'll be published into a book soon. In this conversation, we talk about Ventura and the creative scene out here. Bobby discusses his motivations and reasons for getting into shape and putting down the bottle. We discuss his inspirations and methods behind his photography. We talk about the self-reflective qualities that these creative endeavors and these kind of photographic series have on the subjects and on the creator. It was my pleasure to get to know Bobby in this conversation. And without further delay, this is a portrait of Bobby Do-Right. Did you go to any other schools aside from that, or is that sort of really your post-high school education as far as it went?
Yeah, that was post-high school. High school, I got kicked out my junior year, so I didn't really finish high school. Ended up going to homeschool, finishing that way a year early. My mom always stressed going to some sort of trade school early on, and it took me a little while to find that out, but then ended up going to adult school for welding, learn how to weld, and that's kind of what got me more into the hot rod fabrication world. And then no college, I'd sign up, more part college. A couple of weeks in, I'd be like, what am I doing here? I don't belong here. And then, yes, 26, the 2-year portfolio school was the first time that anything I did post, real, like, committed post.
So you say you got kicked out of school. Did you have behavior issues? Did you just never really like the format of sitting in a desk for hours and being told what to do? What was the issue for you?
All of the above. Plus some other bad seeds that essentially I got kicked out for fighting.
Really?
Yeah.
Fist fight?
Yeah.
Like one instant, or had this happened a few times?
It had happened a couple times, and a lot of the times, I'd been picked on, and I'd be fighting back, sticking up for myself, and I definitely wasn't like a
pushover.
I mean, I was small, but I definitely wasn't a pushover. No, and it was bound to happen one way or the other, whether it was a fight or it was academics or whatever. But yeah, I definitely could not sit behind a desk. And I had some impulse issues when I was younger and not really being able to walk away.
So what's your ideal learning situation then? If it's not like, behind a desk and the teacher's up front reading from a book, whatever, what have you, the standard, what you think of when you think of education, what appeals to you more?
I think doing, and having like a real, a strong desire to learn what I'm being taught, having some sort of interest. I think, as far as like school goes, it's pretty cut and dry how they deliver it. You read it from a book, or, you can't really get too creative because you've got 30 something kids to teach at one time. But yeah, sitting behind the desk is not for me. Definitely hands-on, is. And I think I am intelligent in that way. But I can get bored easily and then lose interest.
So what about now? You have a lot of interest, as far even just obvious interests, just like looking at you and, following you on social media. What's your personality type in the sense of, how you focus on stuff? So do you focus on photography for a week and then you start doing something else for a week? Or do you kind of have everything on full cylinders like all the time?
I think it's probably full cylinders all the time. I'm always moving, doing something. It's kind of how my brain works. I actually have a hard time sitting down in front of the computer and like focusing on one thing. And then I can sit in front of the computer and then it's like, what was I going to do? So I'm almost better off like kind of always moving around and multitasking. So yeah, it's definitely putting my hands in this, that, it's like even today I was, working on some Airbnbs. I went grocery shopping this morning. And then I came here, we did the photo shoot. Now we're doing a podcast. Like it's definitely like, it's an interesting lifestyle. I get to do a lot of different things. But I definitely multitask. I can't just string along one focus for a week and then move on to the next week.
This was a later question, but since you had sort of brought it up, do you feel like you're just living like this kick-ass life? I just kind of look at the stuff that you're doing, the photography you're doing, the people you get to engage with regularly, and we're in a sweet beach town. You're 2 minutes from the pier, and just all these other aspects of your life. I mean, how do you, when you reflect on your position, in this world right now, do you just feel grateful? Do you feel like you're hungry for more? How do you reflect on all the stuff you get to do and everything around you?
Yeah, I feel extremely fortunate and grateful. My wife's business is very successful. She works her ass off. We both work our asses off. Hers is a daily grind that really truly allows us and myself to have the lifestyle that we do. So I'm extremely fortunate and grateful for her. And what I do is I try to support that at any step of the way. So in reality, like I very much cherish the life that I have. Anna and I both seek more. We have more desires and things that we want to set out to do, goals, and we actually have our eye on those things right now. And they're kind of under the radar right now. Can't really talk about it, but we are always kind of thinking about the next greatest thing. Like, what do we want to do next? What's the next chapter? But yeah, Ventura, this town, it's given us both a lot. And I definitely love the people here and I love being able to associate and meet everybody. I did a photo shoot yesterday with a kid from Santa Barbara, just a modeling shoot. And we're on a random street over like off of Channel. And I think like maybe 3 or 4 people had driven by and said hi to me. And he was just like, yeah. And he was just like, what? Like, how? I'm like, I like people.
So your wife's business, I've looked on the social media page, and it's obviously like this like awesome woodworking and metal work and very, frankly, high class looking stuff to my eyes. And what are there complex feelings associated with having like such a successful wife? Frankly, because on how they paint that in TV shows and stuff, where the man's always sort of resenting her, and what are the feelings that you get? Are you just simply proud of her and just 100%. There for her?
I sent her a text today and told her that I'm extremely proud of her. Again, I have her to thank for everything that we have because of her hard work. And yeah, I've put a lot of myself into her business. And as of recently been able to pull back a lot. And I would say that I went from being pretty involved to helping out any way I could, going on installs, stuff like that, to maintaining the things that we have outside of her business, including my photography. And I'm very happy with the fact that I've been able to do that. This Peeping Bob series, like that we shot today, I don't know it wouldn't happen as easily if I was still in that situation. But no, as far as her business goes, it's hers. It's her brainchild. She's grown it from the ground up, and it's been extremely impressive, satisfying to watch. And it only seems to be getting better. Honestly, I probably shouldn't say this, but she has projects that are going to be on Brother vs. Brother tonight.
Oh, awesome!
I don't know if it'll air tonight. We're shooting this we're talking right now here on the 9th. But the newest episodes of Brother vs. Brother projects that she's done are going to be on the show.
And is it the Property Brothers? Those guys?
Yeah, it's the twins. And this is like a new show where they have 2 houses in a neighborhood and they compete to see who can.
That's amazing. Yeah. What would what year did you get married? If you can remember right off.
I think it's going to be like 2040. We haven't gotten married. We're
oh, really?
We've been engaged for 12 years? No, 11 years.
Really? No kidding. How have you navigated that? Because, again, I'll just simply pawn this off on TV shows because I don't want to point at anybody that I know or myself, but like in TV shows, let's just say, a lot of, they paint it where like the woman, like after 4 years, 5 years, hey, what's going on?
Yeah.
So how do you navigate that situation, or the two of you, not you just because you're the man, but, or if you identify as a man, but, how do you navigate those waters? I would think that it would be complex for people.
No, it's never been complex. It's actually been very natural, and it almost feels, I think, for both of us, unnatural for us to go through the whole wedding process. If anything, if at any point we did something, it'd probably just be like more of like a party, some sort of gathering. But the whole wedding thing, honestly, it's never been a huge factor for me. That whole process of kids and marriage and everything never really was like a big deal to me. So it's been pretty, like I said, natural. Feels like it. When I talk to people, I wear a ring. We're married for all intents and purposes. We don't need a piece of paper that says so. And common law doesn't actually work as easy as you think, because you have to actually own the house that you're living in.
So, and do you have children?
Mm-mm.
Wow. Oh my God. You guys are just like living it up. I mean, oh my God. Do you feel that, like, do you truly feel like an individual then? Like, because for all intents and purposes, you're married, but, technically not. So do you feel more like an individual, or do you still feel that sense of being in a duo always?
Oh yeah, we're 100% a duo. The way we think and what we do and how we do it is always in that form. And as of recent, we probably spend most of our time, again, kind of like dreaming of the thing that we're going to do. And then also kind of thinking about what we're currently doing and what can be better. What can we do here? What can we do there? So everything is very much a duo situation.
What advice would you give to couple? I mean, if you have any, what works for you in the sense, what have you noticed that makes things easier and more pleasant, like around the house? Because, I've been married for 2 years, and, I'm learning every day. I learn like how to be a good husband and a good person to live with, and so what have you learned over your time, because you've been with her for a while now, that works?
Listen, pay attention. Definitely be willing to take criticism. Not even criticism, but be willing to be better, I think. I mean, I'm definitely not perfect by any means. And, I can definitely struggle at times to accept certain things, but I try to say like, okay, that's my fault, or I could do better here. I can do better there. So yeah, I think just willing to be the best that you can. I mean, obviously, again, none of us are perfect. So being the best that you can is all you can really do. But knowing that you're putting that front foot or that foot forward and trying to do whatever the best you can for that person, I think as long as you're doing that, you're showing that compassion and that love.
When I say the word Ventucky,
oh God,
what comes to mind? What do you feel
do you
like?
want my honest answer?
Yeah.
White conservative. I'll just say it. Trash, maybe. Doesn't apply to Ventura one bit. I don't know.
Because I've seen people, get irked by it. Like, oh, that's like an insult, to like this beautiful place we live. Like, let's not degrade this place by, I don't even know. Like, it's obvious. It's derogatory, right?
Well, I mean, if you think about, then if you say it that way, then you're also saying that there's something wrong with Kentucky. Is there really anything wrong with Kentucky? I don't know. I've never really been to Kentucky, but has anybody that's made up the word Ventucky been to Kentucky? But no, I do agree that it's not a good representation of the city of Ventura, and I do think it is kind of like it feels it feels like maybe a Ventura long ago that as of recent time has kind of reared its ugly head again. But I think that that's the case across the country. But anyways, yeah, I think Kentucky is a weird way to describe in a single word this awesome little beach community.
And this may come off as a silly question, and it should be a silly question, frankly. Do Black Lives Matter?
100%.
What do you think? Have you, what are your thoughts on the community, what I would say, coming together? Or you might even say has been split. There have been protests and organized events around the city where, it's a Black Lives Matter movement promoting those ideals. But then there's also some very strange stuff going on. I don't even want to mention the business, but there was a coffee shop. There was some controversy recently where they mistreated somebody, and this person is backing, for lack of better words, a Trump supporter. And so,
well, have you seen that? There's news on that, by the way. There's updates on that.
I haven't heard. There's a person. I won't say her name yet, but there was some person.
Somebody created that, and they've been arrested.
Really?
Yeah.
What was there a fault? Somebody used somebody's name or something?
Somebody made a false account and multiple things, and I don't know why, but yeah, I definitely saw that. Definitely posted about it and was confused. But
so the woman is real, though, right? There was some real.
She's a real woman, and I think that maybe this other person was irked by her for some other odd reason and did this. And maybe she is slightly this person, but I don't know that there's any facts outside of what this person illegally. Because I think it's false. Or
it's like defamation or something,
and stealing someone's identity.
Yeah, there's some identity issues.
So,
but even aside from that, though, I don't know if you followed the coffee shop's response. Yeah, it was kind of crazy, really. I mean, they in my opinion,
but maybe again, it's because the majority of the story was false, and he's looking at this going like, what is happening? I really did think about them in a whole when that whole situation unfolded. But yeah, the Black Lives Matter and the split, I think that splits again everywhere, and we're going to see it everywhere. But I very much, it's funny, like coming from Atlanta, you walk around without even blinking an eye. You walk around or like New York, anywhere, LA, you walk around not thinking about it. Ventura is so whitewashed. I mean, we know it. And I want more culture. I want to be surrounded by multiple cultures and people and want that in my life. I don't know why other people wouldn't. It blows my mind. I think a lot of it comes down to fear. But yeah, I think it's been exciting to see. I think it's been exciting and warming to see the community of Ventura, very, very like the young community. I'm 40 myself. I'm not old. I'm not young, but it's been great to see that community come together and show that support. And I ride my bike a lot around the town, and I see the signs in the windows and stuff like that. And just seeing that is great. And I think we also have a great LGBTQ community here as well that supports. You're not going to please everybody. There's hate. There's bigotry everywhere you go. Unfortunately, Ventura's, it's been here in the past, and hopefully we are progressing and moving forward from that. But the country is, I think, spiraled a little bit backwards all around. So
yeah, it's frightening, frankly. It's like we're trying to have kids, and in the state of affairs right now, it's like you almost wonder, like, should I bring a child into this world? It's like I don't know, all the news you hear every day with like the climate and the politics, and it's like, my God, like, am I gonna just be blown up in like an atomic bomb in like 5 years?
Yeah, they thought that back in the 50s here. So
yeah, hopefully they have enough self-interest to not destroy themselves. What do you think about, you've with your Peeping Bob series, by the nature of that of doing that series where you're meeting different people and learning about them and shooting their photos, even just on that account, and the other people you've met around the city, what's your view and what's your experience of like the Ventura art scene and the music scene, just like the scene in general and the people involved? What are your feelings about the scene?
I think the scene's great. I think it could be deeper. I think, and when I say deeper, I think it could be exposed more. Obviously, the past few months, everything's been shut down, so that's not really the case. But even prior, I found, you get little fun art shows and stuff like that, but we don't really have significant galleries here. But the art scene itself, I think it could be exposed more. I think we could have more showings, more galleries, stuff like that. Definitely a lot of great artists, musicians. That's another thing I would love to see Ventura bring is more venues.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can, like, whenever we come out of this dark place that we're in right now. I think Ventura could really use some cool venues to bring in new music. Ventura Theater is great, but how many times are you going to see Bone Thugs and Harmony?
Right.
Or Social Distortion? Retire already. But yeah, I think it'd be cool to have some smaller venues or even like larger ones that can bring in some relevant bands right now. Be neat.
Do you think the scene, and I just say it loosely, I'm talking about like the tattoo artists and the musicians and the poets and those kind of creatives basically is who I'm talking about. Is the scene bigger than I think? Obviously you don't know this for sure, but I'm curious about your impression. Is it a bigger scene than people think, or is it a smaller scene than people think in terms of like how many people are actually like operating?
I think the art community in Ventura is probably larger than we think. But again, exposing it is like the key. I mean, everywhere you go in like LA, any other cultured, sorry, let me rephrase that. Any other more cultured town, city, you see it all around you. I'm fortunate to be really good friends with Evan Mendelsohn, A Wonderful Mistake, and he's done several murals in the area. There's another guy, Chris Saunders, who does really cool murals around town. And they're awesome. We need more of them. And not just by those two guys, but got people that can do them. And we have these empty giant walls along our freeway as you go over under the trellis that could be amazing and beautifully landscaped with art. And then, we see it again. I think sometimes the city itself kind of handpicks who they want to do certain things. We see a lot of art like on the power boxes and stuff like that.
Yeah. Those are rad.
But no, I think that Ventura really truly does have a really strong, talented core of artists. A lot of photographers. That was one of the toughest things, I think, being in Ventura, was thinking, like, can I really be a successful advertising photographer? And, it's definitely a struggle. It's not the easiest thing. I'm not in the mix of things and stuff like that in LA, but I know a lot of people, and I've maintained and had successes and will continue to have those. But I think Ventura in a whole, I think the art community is probably larger than we think.
So just looking at you, you're fully tatted. Is your chest tattooed? Is your back tattooed?
Yeah, I'm probably 85% covered.
Were you actually? How old were you when you got your first tattoo?
I was 17.
Okay, so by that point, did you say even just then by 17? Did you know someday you would be fully covered?
I think so. I wanted to be an outlaw. I totally wanted to be an outlaw. I thought gangsters were the coolest thing. Didn't want to necessarily be like in a gang, but I was always intrigued by the culture, whether that was black gangs, Hispanic gangs, white mafia type gangs, whatever it was very intriguing to me. And biker, even like kind of like the whole biker culture, I think was a little bit more like intriguing. So early on, it was like I kind of wanted to just look mean and kind of be left alone, because I was always small. I was always kind of picked on. But the thing was, I built up a reputation, and people always wanted to challenge me. And I got to this point where I was like, I don't want to be challenged anymore. Just like leave me alone.
Were you like spunky or what? Because I've know a few guys in high school, or I guess I know them still.
This went on from like when I was in elementary school.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Was it something? Was it what your size, or I mean, did you have something in your personality where you were kind of What was
I
it
was
about
feisty. I was definitely feisty, but I was small. I was always the smallest, and then it became like, oh, I could take that guy. I could take that little guy.
You would think that.
No, they would think that, and so I get picked on a lot. And then I was definitely high strung in high school, and it was. I mean, I remember going out on the weekends, and I'd wear crappy clothes, thinking that I was probably most likely going to get in a fight. Stuff like that.
Really?
Yeah, it was stupid. I mean, I was just a young, arrogant, high-strung kid.
Mm.
But I outgrew that, and eventually, like I said, at like 17, I really just wanted to be left alone. I was like, you know what? If I just look mean, if I look like if I look like the guy you don't want to mess with, it's not going to be a problem. And
it worked.
It worked. I think so. I think for the most part. I mean, I definitely got in fights outside of high school, and but again, I was just a young kid full of angst, and then just had to grow up a little bit, But so yeah, the tattoos were basically a defense mechanism for the most part, but also very much like a cultural thing that I loved. I loved that whole idea of being an outcast and being an individual. Not so individual now, but I've learned to live with that and own it for what it is. And no one's going to look like me. No one's going to have the same tattoos for the most part. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, I mean, I think even with the popularity of tattoos, you're still able to have that individuality.
So now you're 40 years old?
I am.
So, you're talking about when you were 17 and you had these ideas and, reasons for wanting tattoos and this image you had in your head of yourself. Now that you're 40 and you look in the mirror, are you like, wow, I'm totally the guy I've always wanted to be? That I'm the guy, I have become the guy I wanted to be.
Yeah, I think that I'm very happy with the person that I am today. In the sense of, what I look like and everything else. Again, yeah, like I feel like I look like the people that I was admiring when I was at that age, for sure. Old punk rockers past their prime, strung out. No, I'm just kidding.
And now that I think about it, this is slightly off topic, but totally fits your description. Tell me about Brad Pitt. What's up with Brad Pitt that you just love so much? I assume
it's Brad Pitt. He's a hunk. It's kind of like just a tongue-in-cheek thing. I like to keep people guessing. Like, what? Like, just to have you ask me about that makes it all worth it, honestly. But yes, I post Brad Pitt on my story quite a bit. But yeah. It's Brad Pitt.
I mean, you like his work. You think he's a good-looking guy.
Yeah.
So it's not like a joke that you're making fun of the guy.
No, I'm definitely not making fun. I would never make fun of Brad Pitt. No way. No, I love the guy. The guy's awesome.
If your wife, or I say your wife, but you and Anna go to like a Hollywood party or something, and Brad's there, and he says, "Dude, Bobby, come on, we got to kiss me." Would you kiss Brad Pitt for a photo?
Oh hell yeah!
No question.
I would 100% kiss Brad Pitt for a photo. Would he ask me? That's a whole other question. I'd probably have to ask him.
Recently, you've been on this what I would call like a health kick. You've been hitting the gym, and I suspect eating well, and and most critically, I don't know that you're drinking alcohol or anything like that. What prompted that change? I mean, were you really eating like in and out every day and drinking a ton anyway, or what's going on with that?
Yeah, for years. I'll admit it. I'm a party animal. I like to party. I'm very social. And drinking was a big part of my lifestyle. And when I was younger, I was definitely always athletic, in shape. I've always surfed. Found myself having more and more issues out in the water, breathing, surfing in general. And the drinking thing really caught up to me. Yeah, last October. It had been catching up to me for a while, and I'd had a lot of feelings of wanting to get back into shape, taking care of myself. Feel like I have pretty decent genes, and wasn't liking where my body was going. and really just didn't like where I was mentally with the drinking. And honestly, yeah, I woke up after a Sunday of having a good time drinking, having a normal weekend. I woke up in the middle of the night in a panic and just had like a panic attack, a lot of anxiety about how I viewed myself, how other people might view me. Wow. Just kind of hit, I think, that wall, metaphorically. And I think I got to the point where I didn't want somebody else to tell me, hey, you have a problem, you need to check in somewhere. I didn't want to do the group AA, stuff like that. So within this panic attack, I made the decision that I was done. And I literally quit drinking that morning, that day. I quit, and I think probably maybe like 10 days to like 2 weeks or something like that. I quit smoking weed. The smoking weed just didn't seem to make sense. I was like all of a sudden very clear, clear-headed and all this stuff, and that's what I really, really wanted.
Yeah.
And so I just quit that too. And yeah, I'm at 11 months right now sober.
Wow.
And I'm 10 months into fitness. I do CrossFit at Persistence Culture. Great place. And it's been, I hate to be the cliche, like where you're this, alcoholic and you go into work fitness, but I'll tell you what, it works. And it's really what I wanted. It wasn't like I was trying to replace it. It's what I'd been kept telling myself for months, if not years, like, hey, get back into shape, feel better. And so I was glad that they were there for me. A good buddy of mine is one of the trainers there and owns one of the owners. It's a great place. And then through that, I was like, well, I'm not going to waste my time in the gym kicking my ass. I completely changed my diet.
Oh yeah, you were telling me you're vegan now. And how long have you been vegan? You said vegan, right?
Yeah.
How long have you been vegan?
I've been vegan I'm on my 3rd month right now.
And how hard is that? Or let me ask you this. Have you had to like spit something out because you forgot? Like, I mean, obviously not at this level, but when I tried it a weekend, a couple times, because I wasn't like knowledgeable, I would forget,
Right.
I mean, has it been a problem for you at all?
I've been educating myself on my diet since probably like for about 9 months now. Through that education, I've completely changed it. So like there was very few things that were really truly not like, I'm eating a lot of whole foods, I guess is the best way to put it. Chicken, fish. I wasn't eating red meat, Greek yogurt. It wasn't a crazy transition into it when I did it because I'd already like dialed in my diet. All I had to do now was replace these major proteins with other ways to get the protein. So it's been easy. I'm not some freak or I shouldn't say freak, but I'm not gonna like, yes, I'm very careful. I'm aware of what I'm eating. I don't eat out a ton, so it makes it a little bit easier.
Right.
Harvest Cafe is amazing. I've been eating at Nature's Grill too. I'll get stuff from there and I check everything. Is this vegan? Yeah, we can make it vegan. It's like, great. But no, if I eat something, if I'm aware of it in time, yeah, sure. Yeah. I'll be like, okay, I won't eat any more. If it happens, it happens.
Yeah.
My body, it's not going to do anything to my body or anything like that. I love animals. It's not necessarily, I mean, that's like a bonus for me is that I'm part of that movement. So that makes me feel good about it. It's tough in the sense of every once in a while I get cravings. I would just want to be able to order Topper's pizza and get it with my pepperonis and pepperoncinis and whatever. So that's been somewhat difficult, but because pizza was like the thing even before I went vegan. Like that was my cheat. So like once every a couple times a month, I'm ordering Toppers or Native and just get down. But now I can't do that as easily, which is good. It keeps me more disciplined. But yeah.
What was the reason you just wanted to kick the health to a new level? Because you went into the fitness mode and stopped drinking. Was the vegan thing just like you just wanted to hit that next level? What was the reasoning?
I'm once again the cliche guy who watched Game Changers, the movie. I don't know if you're familiar. It's about athletes who are on vegan diets, and is it possible to be this dialed in athlete? And it proved to me more like in the scientific terms of like what meat does to your body. And there was really cool examples of how we were never engineered to be meat eaters. The way our teeth are designed, we're carnivore or we're herbivores, you know? It's really interesting. You look at all the animals that actually do eat meat and they have scissor or very serrated type teeth. We don't have that. There was all these facts and there was these very scientific things that, you know, they did with people's sleep, their blood work and stuff like that. That was really interesting to me. And I figured, what could it hurt? Try it. I've already tried all these different things through these 9 months. Why not? Or whatever, 7 months or whatever it was when I started. So it was just one new thing to try and tweak and see if I can do it and be more disciplined.
And so with the, you cut out drinking and smoking and animal products, are you doing it? Are you taking it by ear where, you don't know what you're going to be doing in a year? Or are you pretty set? Like, okay, I'm never picking up a drink again. Where do you want to get to eventually? You want to kind of just see where this path takes you for now?
No, I think I'm pretty dedicated to this. I'm pretty proud of myself and the achievements that I've made because honestly, 10 months ago, it seemed impossible. So to get to this point, like I'm literally about to celebrate a year. Part of me goes, nah, I'd be fine. I could have a beer. But then part of me feels like, yeah, I might be fine, but am I going to feel am I going to be devastating myself in whatever time frame? I quit smoking when I was 28 cigarettes, and I'm pretty good at cold turkey. I don't know why or how. Like it's mind over matter. I'm very like determined, which has served me well in multiple things. But I quit smoking and went a whole year without smoking a cigarette. And literally smoked my last cigarette in my pack, and then a year later, I smoked another cigarette.
Mm-hmm. And you just dropped it? You were able to smoke a cigarette?
I smoked that one cigarette in the year thing, and then I didn't. I was like, nope, that was disgusting. It went on. And there's been little like moments where I've smoked cigarettes, but not to like a habitual way. So
you obviously miss beer. I mean, it tastes so good, and it's like fun. Or
gin.
Gin.
No, I'm just kidding.
So, I mean, does it, when you think of like yourself maybe having a beer sometime, is it almost like a pang of pain? Like, that even though I would want to, even though that would be fun, like that's not a good idea for me. Or do you imagine someday, like on a 4th of July, or maybe not 4th of July, but on like a New Year's or something, having like a shot or something, do you feel like not even that is interesting to you? Like you just would rather keep the train moving?
Yeah, I think I'd rather just keep the train moving. Again, I'm very, very happy mentally, physically. I'm putting a lot of hard work into my fitness and what I'm doing, and I just want to dial that all in. My grandfather passed away at 54, and as I saw of a heart attack, and he smoked, drank, he was 5'3", 5'4", overweight. And as I turned 40, as I was getting closer to turning 40, I'm bridging this gap. This gap is getting smaller. I'm going to be 54 before I know it. And so that was scaring me. And I'm a lot like my grandfather. I take after him immensely, down to the hairline, stature, everything. And I saw myself looking more and more like him in his later years. And so that was a big motivator to just be like, you know what? I want to be here. I have way more in the tank than 54 or 60. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I'm at that point where it's like, what can I do to make sure that I'm here as long as possible? Where honestly, I think for years it was kind of like,
yeah, what happens, happens. You've been doing a lot of photography lately, and I don't know how long you've been doing photography or how dedicated, because like it seems like you're just like on fire right now with like the projects you're working on. When you were like more of like a drinker and you weren't exercising as much, were you as creative or doing as much work in those days compared to now that you're more, let's call it like clear-minded? Is this a recent hard-hitting thing you've been doing, or have you always been doing a lot of photography like in the past, I don't know, 5 years or so?
Yeah, photography has been my main thing for years. But it was really strictly for money, shooting advertising campaigns, I'd shoot a lot of models, stuff like that. And yes, when I was drinking and when I wasn't quite as healthy or wasn't taking care of myself, honestly, picking up my camera was like very anxiety filled. I was just like, get through it, do it. I have the skill set to kind of think that way and get the job done. Now it's like, I really enjoy picking up my camera. I really enjoy packing my stuff up and, visualizing what I'm about to do and experimenting, meeting new people. All that anxiety is gone. So yeah, I think this is a new thing for me as far as being really excited about each project that I set out on. And the Peeping Bob series has been just a perfect use of my time during the pandemic to sort of show and highlight what I'm capable of doing. It's great. I'm represented with Big Picture Reps out of Texas, and it's really cool because most of the shoots I do, they're highly produced. There's money, there's budgets, and it's been really cool to produce these because they do look. I personally think, and I've been told that they look fairly well produced. Like there does look like there's like a budget there or something. So that it's just been really fun to be able to create that sort of level on this sort of very like civil, like normal level. You know what I mean? Where you're not dealing with a client. There's not an art director. There's not a producer. It's I'm walking into someone's house and peeping on them.
Right. You've gotten. I was looking through your some of your work that you put on social media, and even just starting with the Out My Window series. Basically, tell me about that. I've seen some of. I don't know that I've seen all the shots, but it looks like you're taking these photos for the Out My Window series from a particular location where you live, and there seems to be a theme in the people you shoot or the subjects you shoot, whether they're people or not. Just tell me about what inspired you. What's your, why? What's with the series? I like it, but I just ask it bluntly like that. What's up with the series?
I think it was just out of necessity, needing to shoot and do something. And I'd already been spending a lot of time at my office early this year before COVID really happened. And I've been marketing and I've been pulling together. I actually redid my website, built a new website for more of my fashion work. So I was spending a lot of time in there and I wanted to continue that momentum. But I wanted to be shooting too. So all of a sudden I realized I got this 70 to 200 millimeter lens. I've got this window out to this magnificent location where the weirdest shit happens. And it was even better because we're in the middle of this pandemic and people are wearing masks and everything just looks... Honestly, it's every day, no matter if there's a pandemic happening or not. Just now people are wearing masks. But for some reason, oddly enough, the photos just kind of looked apocalyptic.
They do. They do. That's the feeling I was sort of getting. I'm like, what? There's something's just absurd about it, even though it's like real life. I'm happy I asked. I'm happy you said it that way too, because that is the feeling I was trying to like, what is that feeling I get when I look at these photos? Just like a guy, maybe it could even be a homeless guy with like a bag of stuff, and there's nothing particularly odd. Yet there's this weird feeling that I get when I look at them. I think maybe because the angle,
somewhat of a lonely feeling, maybe.
Yeah. It's very complex, and it's mundane, and it's the mundaneness of some of the subjects is absurd. It's like normally when you take a photo, you want to have like the right subject in the right way, but you're sort of shooting somebody just living their life. Unbeknownst to them, their life is being captured, and in mundane acts of just walking by, picking up a bag or something, and there's that weird eerie feeling about that. There's I don't know. I got to look back at some of those photos because I feel like some of them are just absurd. It's like some of the stuff you're capturing.
Ventura, man. Imagine if that window was somewhere else too. Like, I'm telling you, that's like everyday life. It wasn't all that far fetched. It had nothing to do with COVID. I was just stuck inside. And I was like, well, I'm going to shoot something. But yeah, I just shot from my office window. I had my camera always ready. And the way my desk is set up, my computer screen's in front of me, but like right to the corner of my eye, I can look directly down on the railroad crossing in front of my house, the walking bridge and everything, and just see it all unfolding. And if I can grab my camera fast enough, I get to capture it.
You captured what might be who might be considered sort of like a local or a relic of Ventura, but I've seen you took a photo, I think, of the parrot guy. There's like an old guy.
Oh, right.
That like he must go to the beach or something, but he has this parrot. Did you shot him, right?
I've actually photographed that guy twice now. So I did the one
really?
the window, and then I took his portrait.
Oh, really?
Walking across the bridge or something like that.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool. I'm like, because I could associate with who that was, because I'd run into him. I think I got a photo with him, and it seems to bring him a lot of joy.
Oh yeah,
walking around with that parrot, because he's kind of like an old guy. He's like an old man. Guy.
Definitely like charismatic, like character. Maybe a little eccentric. Obviously, he's got like this.
I think so.
2-foot bird that he walks around with. Yeah, he's a cool guy. Always wears denim.
Yeah, he. I get. Well, I don't think that he was charging or anything like money.
No.
But you could just tell. Well, first of all, it brings people joy. Like we were a little freaked out, and then we were intrigued, and then we went and met him a little bit.
Then we tried to steal his bird.
We got a photo. I think I have a photo with the bird on my hand. But I think that's what the guy gets out of it. You know, he brings joy anywhere he goes with that thing. So that's why it was so cool that you had gotten a photo of him. You have you had this other series. I don't know that it's as lengthy as the Peeping Bob series or the Out My Window series, but you did a self-portrait study. Yeah. And some of them were, I think I've seen 4 maybe. One, you have, I think, peanut butter on your face, and that's intriguing. And what's odd is that portrait is more understandable than some of the other ones, as strange as it is, because you've done a couple others where there's like, I think, an egg
I put
taped to your eye.
An egg's taped to my eye, yeah.
There was another one, I don't know that it's a part of the series technically, but you did one, it looked very futuristic. You had some weird things on your eyes. And so it just made me wonder, what? Obviously, portraits are very popular. People love to have their portrait taken. We like to see ourselves in a portrait. What was your inspiration or your motivation to sort of string those shots into a series? What were you thinking about?
I think I just started off. What did I shoot first? I think it was the egg thing, and I was like, you know what? I should do like a quirky, weird self-portrait series. Mm-hmm. And again, I was at home, middle of COVID or early on in COVID. It's like, actually, was that during? I can't remember now.
I think there was.
It might have been right before.
There was a couple, for sure, before that you mentioned maybe that kind of gave you the idea.
Oh, you know what? No, it was during COVID because it was in between the Out My Window, and then the last one I did the send nudes, and then all of a sudden I'm shooting the Peeping Bob.
Oh, interesting. Oh, wait. Okay, so yeah, let's bridge that. So did you take a photo from the self-portrait study or around that time that inspired this whole Peeping Bob thing? Or is that just, No,
I kept seeing all the cheesy people taking photographs of their friends on their stoops or in their windows, and I was like, I could do better.
So you wanted a piece of that action?
I wanted to put my twist on it and show that you could be a little bit more creative even during these times. The whole goal was really to stay out of people's homes too, like really shoot it from all outside. And for the most part,
really?
Yeah,
no kidding.
And it started off that way, and I've been safe with it. But yeah, so the whole idea was to kind of keep with the theme that we were supposed to be, social distancing and everything else. But yeah, it was really just, honestly, it was just inspired by like the family portraits that people were taking. And I was like, you could take a family portrait like this anytime, like where's the creativity? Where's the sense of the person? So it didn't seem that unique to me. And I was like, there's something more here. And so that's where the Peeping Bob idea came in, as far as like, okay, what could this be? It's like, I'm going and checking up on friends and I catch them doing something weird. And I just wanted to have something that stayed consistent. And the nudity was the consistency. Like, we've all kind of lost our minds in these months of this pandemic.
I totally am on board with that. I've seen plenty of photos where it's just lacking all substance where, I mean, and I know that sounds very mean because, I mean, what do I even know about photography? But just my experience of looking at some people's photos, even if the quality is like stellar, I realized after I've seen enough that just simply having perfect, amazing quality does not assume that it's like going to intrigue us or make me wonder. Like, I like to look at pictures that make me wonder, like, oh, who is this? Who is this person? I wonder what they're like. But like you said, it's just somebody on a stoop, nothing interesting behind them.
Yeah. It became redundant.
It's so boring.
Yes, it was a very, the idea behind it is, it's great. And it was it was a moment that was great, but there is no concept. There's nothing behind it. So yeah, the substance is important. And that's what I wanted to bring to the table, which I think I always try to bring to my photography in general. My eye, my view, my perspective. And this has been an interesting project to work on because a lot of people have asked me, and I think you did too, like, okay, like, what's your process? What's like, do you have it? Like, they were so surprised when I said, okay, what's your concept? And,
it was, yeah.
And because it's like, no, I don't want to drive your concept. I want you to think of what are your interests? What do you do? What makes you you? And then how do I can build on that and do what I want with it. And I think that's how it's worked with a lot of people is they give me a simple concept or it could be a crazy concept, but the concept, I never really wanted the concepts to be over the top. I want them to feel sort of, what's the word I'm looking for?
Like authentic or?
Yeah, authentic or, what's the word I'm looking for here? It's like when you're, you get married, you have a home. What's that word? You become
holy matrimony?
No. But what I'm saying is more so I didn't want it to feel too far gone. Like just enough.
Yeah.
Like where it wasn't just super over the top. And like with your concept in particular, like you had this idea, well, I do this podcast and I can do, and that was like, okay, you're going to be interviewing a sex doll. It made sense because you can't really get subjects right now.
I love it. I mean, what we were sort of talking off the record about is like I can appreciate not trying to push a concept too far. But just enough where it's intriguing and it's thought provoking. That's what I like. I mean, that's just my taste of photography where when I look at the picture, it's thought provoking. That's what I want. And I think the concept that we have, another thing that what I like is when a description of a photo is poetry. If you were to describe like what we did today, it would sound like poetry, Right. And when you
tied the sex doll to the chair.
It's and like the symbolism and the metaphors and it's my mind just starts spiraling out of control. That goes beyond the concept, but that's what art does. Right. When you look at a painting, when you read a book, when you listen to a song, as a viewer and listener, that's the fun part for the viewer and listener is to wonder and to think and to imagine and to assume and to all these things. So when you look at a photo of somebody on a stoop, the poetry doesn't go that far I just told you what the photo was, and there's no poetry there. So when you just, if we were to describe,
and I'm not trying to be mean when I say that by any means. It's more so just that wasn't for me,
right? No, and I'm not saying
I had to figure out how to put my twist on this concept.
Yeah,
idea.
And there's a place for those photos. I mean, me too. I don't want to come off harsh because sometimes there is a place for a photo that's just simple that doesn't require explanation.
There's actually a photographer out of LA. I think he's in LA. Yeah. Joe Puglier. He's the one, I think I'm pronouncing his last name right. He's Joe Pug on Instagram. But I'd say that he was kind of like the starter of it. And he was going around LA shooting these beautiful black and white photos of his friends, kind of like almost like pre-shutdown. And then all of a sudden you're seeing it. It was coming from every direction. So yeah, originally I liked the original concept, but then when you start seeing it just coming from every direction, that's where it was kind of like it was losing that authenticity kind of. Or
for your series, or you're saying out in the field. For your series or for the world?
For in the general, like when I started, like he kind of created this and then seeing more of it coming from different directions and different people, it's kind of like, okay, you've seen one family in the window, you've seen them all. And that's where this series, I think the Peeping Bob series, is if you've seen one person in a Peeping Bob series, you haven't seen them all.
Right.
You know, I'm at 40, you're 43, and they're all completely different. I know, I was kind of hoping that I was number 43 on the podcast.
You are.
Really?
You're number 43. Because 41, 40, you're 43.
Hold on. I'm pretty sure.
Because I think I just put out 41. It's not on
this is
Instagram.
43.
It's because there are.
That's weird.
Yeah, I'm almost 100% sure it's 43. That's awesome. I mean, that's beautiful that it worked out that way.
Cool.
Did you have with Anna, because like I told you, I sort of was wondering how I would bring it up to Angela. Like, okay, a friend's gonna come over and take a picture of me naked, and it's gonna, so I wondered, okay, how am I gonna say this? Because in any way I say this, it sounds strange. So when you had this idea, I mean, how did you present it to Anna? I mean, obviously, you're a grown adult and you're both, mature, but did you have to say like, hey, I'm going to be taking photos of naked women and in their house
and men, come on.
I mean, was there a conversation?
Yeah. I mean, for the most part, she trusts me very much. And, I think I'm very, very lucky when it comes to that. Anna's been nothing but supportive when it comes to my photography and what I shoot. Since day one, I've been shooting beautiful models, and women, men, and she's never had an issue with it. So this wasn't any kind of like a stretch.
Oh, okay.
And she knew it was going to be professional, and she knew that it's for the sake of art, and she loved the concept. So I think the conversation was just like, hey babe,
I have this
idea and I'm going to start it with Zach. And I think she's just always been super supportive and never been the jealous type in that sense. And if she has been, it's cute. It's not like, it's not debilitating, or it's flattering more than anything. But no, she's always been extremely supportive, and I have never had to really explain myself. I feel like if I have to go over the top to explain myself, then I'm probably doing something wrong. You know what I mean? Then like, I'm probably guilty of something.
Like, it's not going to be, there's going to be negative, it's like, no, I can appreciate that. I was just curious.
So, I've definitely seen more naked people in the past 4 months than I ever imagined I would. So
it's very interesting because that's partly for me, it's one of the reasons why I think it's a very interesting series, because even in 2020, even though we have WAP coming out where we have these songs about,
which I just listened to for the first time, and I liked it.
So even in a world where there's music like that, and it's still, I wouldn't say a touchy subject, nudity itself, but like, there's still these weird boundaries that we're, having to negotiate in our society with what's acceptable and what's not, what's tasteful, what's not. So that's one of the reasons that it's so provocative to me, is that we're having to confront these uncomfortable, for some people, these uncomfortable feelings. And, but I love it because it makes me, that's why I'm talking to you now. And that's why I have all these questions, because all I did was wonder about it. So when you this is your 43rd one, and you're going to, presumably get to 50. Do you,
hopefully beyond too. Yeah.
Do you, or more, do you have a conversation with the subjects? Like, hey, it's totally like professional, or do you just, cause like we didn't really talk about it. You didn't say, oh, I'm going to walk out while you get naked. How do you navigate those waters, especially with women? Because, we're both men, so it's a little easier, I think, maybe.
Sometimes I think it's even like more awkward with the men at times. No, I try to keep it natural. I mean, I feel like I'm pretty natural in my direction and myself. I try to put people at ease. I think if I was awkward or anything like that, I think it would make it more difficult. But I really do try to come at the situation in like I've done this a million times. This isn't weird. Mm-hmm. For the women, I honestly, I've had more, I've seen it where the women are so uncomfortable and nervous.
Uncomfortable, you said.
I think early on, they're about to be naked. They've never done this before. Mm-hmm. It's not like these, I'm hiring professional nude models or anything for this. They're literally doing this. And a lot of them had husbands, have boyfriends, have boyfriends, have husbands. And they had to discuss that. They had to have that same conversation that you did with Angela. And I think at the end of the day, they felt a sort of sense of empowerment and satisfaction from doing this. Not being like, oh, I was naked on camera, but doing something that they hadn't anticipated ever doing or ever feeling comfortable doing. And honestly, for me, like that's very gratifying for myself. And that's a selfless thing in the sense of like most men might be like, oh, I'm seeing women naked right now. Like this is hot, you know? But no, it's actually, to me, I focus on the fact that they're telling me, wow, like I was really nervous when you first got here, but I'm so glad I did that. That makes me feel really, really good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I would wonder if you know, that discomfort that they have. I wonder if it's even, maybe for some people this could be it. It's like not so much that they're afraid to show you themselves, but that they're, in a way, they're showing themselves, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like this reflective process of being comfortable in your own skin. That's really what it is, and especially on camera. And I think that's actually really awesome. I can appreciate that because I've had a similar experience where when I interview people, because as soon as the interview is over, the rest of the day I'm thinking about it, like what I heard, what I learned, and what I learned about the people, and the emotion, and the stories, and the questions I ask. And it's just floating around my head.
Sure.
Maybe in the way you do when you go home and you're just, you know, thinking about today's shoot. You know, you're thinking about whatever.
Man, I think that sex doll could have done a better job.
Judy,
I thought she was going to be taller.
She's going to get an IMDb credit.
Right.
So I can appreciate that feeling that you must get, because I think it's a feeling I get that my, you know, you're like my subject, and I think that people, you know, it's in a way it's a feeling of being under a microscope when you're being interviewed or when you're being put in front of a camera. But having gone through it, at the end of the day, I think there is a sense of empowerment and confidence, and you learn more about yourself.
I've been very proud of the subjects because, you know, I think we're all self-conscious of certain things about ourselves, and to take our clothes off and present that not only to just me but to my viewers, their viewers, if they decide to repost and blah blah blah. And now, I mean, I'm turning this into a book. So, and everybody's been super cool with, and they've actually been excited to be a part of it. Like it's like almost like once they heard it was going to be a book, they were even more excited. That was kind of like a neat thing for me.
It's awesome. I mean, everybody wants to be published. It's, you know, and it's really cool actually, because not like it would not be good enough to just be online or on a website.
It's kind of old school, right? It's like it's going in a book.
Yeah, that is good enough. But when you know it's going to be in a book, I mean, there's something, whether we admit it or not, you know, we always want to, you know, we consider legacy. It's like, what am I going to look back on? What footprint am I leaving in this world? And I think that's why people like to be like, that's why as nervous as people get to be interviewed, like on here, I think that's a part of it too. Being photographed, being shot with, you know, in a video, being in a book, there's just some legacy component and something you can show people, and something, even though a book's not permanent,
something tangible. Yeah.
Yeah. Something tangible in your hand that you can look at. And I mean, the photo, it's going to be beautiful.
Especially during this time too. Like you're going to look back always on this time, and you can like kind of like pause it for a moment.
Yeah, so, you know, with this series, your Peeping Bob series, obviously you've done it all during COVID, but is it really like a project that in 5 years, let's pretend that COVID disappears in a few months and we never talk about it again? If that's the case, you know, do you want this project to be forever associated with this time period? Is it a timepiece, or, you know, how do you see it?
Yeah, because I think it was derived from this period for sure. So it's exactly that. It's me checking up on friends during this time, making sure they're okay, and some of them are, some of them aren't. But yeah, no, it's definitely connected. When I first started it, it was I was calling all these series like another pandemic series. And through some advice through creative mentors and friends and stuff like that, they were like, you know, maybe just cut out another pandemic series and just do Peeping Bob, number it. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of how that ended up being. But yeah, for sure, it's definitely related to it. It would never have come to light, I don't think, without.
Right. What has you've done this over 40 times, and for this specific series, you've shot countless people in other places, but for this particular series, what has surprised you? You know, you've been coming into people's homes, you've been shooting like in their spaces. I guess, has anything surprised you? What have you learned about this process? Has it just been easy sailing? You know, I imagine some weird stuff has happened, maybe, or I guess I'm just curious about what you've experienced during this process. I think it was natural for us, and I didn't feel weird really. But I'll tell you, we vacuumed about 10 times, you know, like, so like, I'm wondering, your subjects were probably doing.
Yeah. I think a lot of people like set their house up, you know, accordingly. I think some people didn't. But I don't know. I wouldn't say that anything surprised me. It's maybe what surprised me sometimes is how easily some people were comfortable just getting naked. I mean, you started getting naked kind of like before I was really ready, which, I mean, it's fine. But no, I don't know that there was any real surprises. Except for sometimes like the subjects being willing to be a part of the, you know, people that I've known for a while that I wouldn't necessarily be like, oh, they would have wanted to do this. But yeah, I'm trying to think if there's like some cool highlights and stuff like that. But I mean, all of it's been kind of a blur at this point.
It's been pretty smooth, a smooth process, no bumps in the road.
Yeah, it's been really cool because everybody's been so involved. Like and I've kind of been able to, again, speak my mind when I want to, and then I show up and I make my adjustments and I do what I want and kind of piece it together in a way that I think works better for the image itself, and then I get to direct. Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, it's been great that I guess that's maybe what surprised me is how willing people were to get the right props and do certain things. Mm-hmm. Just go for it.
Do you imagine having any writing in the book? Like, do you want to like write a little introduction or, like what do you imagine with the book? Just like introduction and then photos from then on out? Or?
I'm just going to badmouth every subject alongside their image. No, actually I'm having everybody, and you'll get one yourself. I'm sending everybody a model release and then also, a format thing for them to write a statement.
Oh, cool. I think that'd be really great, actually.
Yeah, so the image will fall on one side of the page on the right-hand side. On the other side will be their statement. And it's either something about the experience, about the current situation, what's going on in their life, whatever they want to live next to their image is fine with me. It could be completely off subject, on subject, whatever they want it to be.
Man, I think that's going to come out really nice. That's going to be really sweet. So what do you get? What do you get out of doing this? You know, this series in particular, because of you're having to work with other people. You know, what are you getting out of it?
I think it's a creative outlet, really. I'm getting a bunch of rad content, and I'd really like to get more publicity out of it. And that's definitely been something I've always struggled with my photography. Selling myself. I'm always good at like selling other people and certain things in my life, tattoo shop, stuff like that. But when it comes to like me and my work, then it's difficult. It's and then finding those outlets too. And it's just like taking the time. I'm always moving. Like I need to really sit down and start pushing this. I started tagging like New York Times or Los Angeles Times, stuff like that on some of the photos, but never gained any kind of traction with it. Mm-hmm. And I just wonder sometimes, like, how do these photographers and different other creatives, how do they do it? I don't know. So
I mean, maybe you can get it on the shelf at all the local places, you know?
Yeah, I mean, that'd be fun. What's going to be cool is it's going to be available on Amazon and Barnes and Noble and stuff like that. It's kind of a bummer because they all take they'll take a certain percentage. Not that great, but
I mean, it's for like that's a bummer, but I mean, they make it convenient, don't they?
Make it super convenient. The people that I'm working with to actually make the book, they're doing like a ton of the work.
Wow!
So it's going to be great. It's I'm excited about that. And then Amazon, Barnes and Noble, all of them, they'll do all the shipping and everything else. So,
Well, I'm so happy to have been a part of your series. I have just ever since I had reached out and you were interested and thought I would make a good enough subject. I just thought about it, and that's what's so wonderful about it, and that I bet your subjects feel how I feel about it, and that you just reflect on yourself and the situation. And I wonder, like, oh, am I being welcoming enough? Am I providing enough input? And all these like thoughts, go through your mind, and we're basically socializing, and I feel that that's an exercise in being, a member of society. We're working with each other, we're navigating the waters of creativity together. Are you satisfied? Am I satisfied? Are you comfortable? Am I comfortable? And I think there's a lot of value in that. So even though people will just see the photo, they're not going to know all that it took to do it. Not that it was that complicated, but we got to experience it together, and we're forging a new relationship, and I think that's cool. So I think there's so much more to your series than like just the photos themselves. It's so much has come from it. And I just have one more question for you. You can answer any way you like. Bobby Do Right, who the hell are you?
Who the hell am I? I'm just a guy that likes to do right. No, Bobby Do Right. I'm a hardworking, compassionate person who loves people, loves what he does, is excited about the future and everything that it has to offer.